There's a moment every rapper faces, standing in the mirror practicing bars that don't quite feel real. You're trying to sound hard, sound cool, sound like anything except yourself. But here's the revolutionary truth. Your most powerful wordplay isn't hiding in some imaginary street life or fabricated persona. It's living in the specific details of your actual experience. After a decade of coaching thousands of rappers, from nervous beginners to festival performers, I've discovered the most common mistake artists make: abandoning their authentic experience in search of someone else's story. Running the largest online rap coaching platform and working with both underground talents and major label producers has taught me something profound. The best wordplay doesn't come from pretending, they come from transforming your reality into something extraordinary. Therefore, in today's episode of How to Rap, we're going to show how that boring job or school you think nobody wants to hear about, and those everyday struggles you're afraid to mention, aren't your weaknesses, they're your secret weapon. Now, before we dive deeper into these wordplay secrets, I've created something special for those who want to take their punchlines from basic to brilliant. It's a complete system that transforms your wordplay in just 14 days using the power of freestyle, packed with advanced techniques, daily drills, and personal guidance that goes way beyond what we can cover in this video. If you're ready to master the art of crafting unforgettable bars, click the first link below. With that said, let's unlock the first secret to turning your ordinary bars into quotable moments. Our first secret to leveling up your wordplay game comes from something I witnessed when I first started really getting into the game. One time I watched two rappers battle in a local competition. The first spent 3 rounds trying to convince everyone he was straight from the streets, while his opponent, a college student, had the whole crowd erupting by amplifying his real campus life experiences into clever wordplay. That night revealed a fundamental truth about punchlines. Authenticity isn't about keeping it small, it's about transforming your reality into something extraordinary. So here's where most rappers stumble. They think clever wordplay requires fabricating a larger-than-life persona. They abandon their real experiences, searching for something that sounds harder or cooler, but this approach always rings hollow, because the best wordplay comes from amplifying your actual life, not inventing a fake one. The secret lies in understanding that being authentic isn't about being literal, it's about being creatively truthful. Take the most mundane aspects of your job and transform them into epic scenarios through wordplay. The key isn't to escape your reality, it's to transform it through clever exaggeration. This principle works with any aspect of your life. If you're a tech worker, don't pretend to be something else. Instead, take the most specific details of your daily routine and blow them up into something legendary. The power lies in taking what's true about your life and stretching it until it becomes memorable. The real breakthrough happens when you realize that specific, exaggerated truth hits harder than generic flexing. Don't just say you're working hard. Describe how your dedication manifests in ways that paint a picture. Don't just claim you're passionate about your craft. Show it through scenarios that make people visualize your commitment. This approach to wordplay does something magical. It makes your lyrics both more authentic and more engaging. When you take your real experiences and amplify them creatively, you create punchlines that are uniquely yours. Nobody else could write them because nobody else has lived your exact story. Speaking of creativity, you might be wondering just how far you can push these exaggerations before they stop working. Well, that's where our next secret comes in, and it's going to completely change how you think about going over the top. Let me tell you about a moment that changed everything I thought I knew about wordplay. Because just when you thought you understood the power of keeping it real, this next secret flips everything on its head. I was coaching a rapper who kept playing it safe with his punchlines. Everything was too grounded, too realistic, and completely forgettable. Then something clicked. I challenged him to take his most outrageous thought and double it, and the result was his next punchline had the whole room laughing. You see, most rappers hit a ceiling with their wordplay because they're afraid of going too far. They pull back right when they should push forward. They write a decent punchline and stop there, missing the magic that happens when you take that same concept and launch it into the stratosphere. Here's the secret that transforms good wordplay into great wordplay. The more absurd your exaggeration, the more impact it has, as long as it starts from a place of truth. That's why secret number 1 is still important. Don't shy away from your actual position in life and what you're up to, but take those truths and blow them up into an entertaining set of punchlines that are so obviously fantastical that no one is thinking you're being literal. One of the kings of this was early Eminem. He took his real experiences, being a struggling rapper, working at Builders Square, living in a trailer with his daughter, and instead of hiding from these details, he amplified them into absurd scenarios. The genius was in how he'd start with a real situation from his life, then take it through increasingly outrageous escalations until it became something completely fantastical. But because he started from a place of truth, even his most over-the-top wordplay felt grounded in reality. So, think about your most basic daily activities. Now imagine them at their most ridiculous extreme. But here's the key. The absurdity needs to follow a logical path even as it reaches for the stars. This isn't about random chaos, it's about creating a clear line of escalation that makes sense even when it doesn't make sense. When you're describing how hard you work, don't just stop at saying you're tired. Take us on a journey where your alarm clock is filing workplace complaints and your coffee maker is demanding overtime pay. The breakthrough comes when you realize that absurdity, properly wielded, actually makes your wordplay more relatable, not less. Because when you push an experience to its most extreme logical conclusion, you tap into universal feelings that everyone understands, even if they've never experienced your specific situation. This is how you create those moments where listeners do a double take, process what you just said, then break into a grin when they follow your logic chain back to reality. The best wordplay isn't just clever, it's clever in a way that rewards listeners for paying attention to your lyrical journey. Just when you think you've mastered the art of absurd exaggeration, you'll discover there's another layer to this game. Because while everyone's trying to go bigger and wilder with their wordplay, the real knockout punch comes from zooming in so close you can see the fingerprints on every bar. And that's exactly what our next secret reveals. A few months back, I was watching a rap battle where one guy kept talking about ice and whips while his opponent broke down the exact shade of purple on his grandmother's favorite church hat. Guess who won? The guy who painted pictures so specific you could hang them in a gallery. That's when it clicked. In wordplay, vague dies while specific flies. Most rappers sabotage their wordplay by living in the land of generics. They say they're grinding instead of describing the exact moment their laptop died at 3:47 a.m. while finishing a track. They talk about the hood instead of naming the specific corner store where they bought their first Arizona iced tea. They don't realize that specificity is the switch that turns average bars into quotable moments. Here's the secret. The more precise your details, the more universal your impact becomes. It sounds backwards, but it's true. When you name the exact brand of cereal you eat every morning or the specific model of your first car's busted speakers, you're not limiting your audience. You're giving them a crystal clear window into a moment they can feel. The key is to zoom in so close that you can see the fingerprints on the story. Don't just say you're broke. Tell us about the exact sound your card makes when it gets declined at the self-checkout. Don't just tell us you're dedicated. Show us the specific way your spacebar is worn down from hitting play 10,000 times. But here's where most people get it twisted. Being specific isn't about listing details like a police report. It's about choosing the exact right detail that carries the most weight. It's about finding that one specific image that makes everything else come alive in the listener's mind. The power move is combining specific details with unexpected connections. Take that worn down spacebar and turn it into a story about determination. Take that specific corner store and make it a metaphor for growth. The more specific your starting point, the more surprising your wordplay can become. This level of detail does something magical to your wordplay. It makes it impossible to copy. Nobody else has lived your exact moments, seen through your exact eyes, and your specificity becomes your signature. But just when you think you've mastered the art of being specific, you'll discover there's one more layer to peel back. Because sometimes the most powerful wordplay happens when you take those specific details and flip them completely upside down, and that's exactly what our final secret reveals. I'll never forget watching a young rapper have his breakthrough moment in a cypher. For 3 rounds straight, he was struggling, trying to sound tough like everyone else. Then something wild happened. He stopped fronting and started flipping his insecurities into strengths. Suddenly, being the shortest guy in the room became his superpower, and when he flipped it into a punchline about high-fiving ants, the whole room erupted. That's when the light bulb went off. Sometimes the best wordplay comes from completely reversing your reality. Here's where rappers usually trip up. They see their perceived weaknesses as things to hide rather than weapons to wield. They're so busy trying to cover up their flaws that they miss the opportunity to flip them into flames. What they don't realize is that every limitation is just a punchline waiting to be reversed. The secret is this: take whatever makes you feel insecure and turn it into your superpower. And being too tall, too short, too quiet, too loud, these aren't weaknesses. They're wordplay gold mines waiting to be excavated. The key is to flip these traits so hard that they become advantages no one saw coming. Think about what people might consider your limitations. Your day job, your background, your living situation. Now reverse each one completely. Don't just embrace these things, transform them into unexpected sources of power. This isn't about denying reality, it's about flipping it in ways that make people see it differently. But here's what most people miss about reality reversal. It's not just about turning negatives into positives, it's about taking your existing positives and flipping those too. Whatever you're good at, find a way to present it that no one's heard before. The more unexpected the flip, the more memorable the wordplay. This approach to wordplay does more than just create punchlines, it changes how people see you and how you see yourself. When you can flip anything into an advantage, you become unstoppable. Because now every single thing about you, good or bad, is potential ammunition for your next killer line. And that brings us full circle to where we started. Because once you master these 5 secrets, you'll realize that wordplay isn't just about clever lines. It's about transforming how you see everything around you. With that said, I'd love to see what you got in the comments. Post the wittiest 2 bars you've ever personally written, not someone else's bars, but your own. Let's see who's got the best. And if you're ready to start getting wittier with your bars, be sure to check that course I mentioned in the beginning. We appreciate your time here at How to Rap, and peace until next time.